Hey, it's Nate, and today I am doing I Will by the Beatles. Just a perfect short little love song that leaves you wanting more. It's got a beautiful chord progression and melody, and I'm going to show you how to do a simple and great sounding piano accompaniment. Then I'm going to show you how to add the fast, bluesy finger-picking moments, but the difficulty gap between doing those and not is really big, so I want to stress that those are totally optional. Let's jump in. Okay, first off, I recommend you get the chords and lyrics chart. There's a link down in the description, and that's going to help you follow along and see where the chords and the lyrics line up with each other. And this song is essentially in the key of F major, so mostly white keys except for B's are flat, though it does deviate from that a little bit. I'm going to take you through each section of the song doing the main accompaniment part, and then I'm going to circle back and do that optional, fast, tricky stuff. So we'll start with the first verse. There's no intro in the song. It just jumps right in with the singing. Here are the chords for that. We'll start with an F major chord. So we've got an F bass note down here with my fifth finger. Then we've got A, C, and F. Notice I'm using my second finger on the C, and that's middle C, so you get the octave there. Then we've got a D minor. This is going to be another inversion. A, D, and F. I'm coming up, stretching my hand a little bit to put my first finger on D. Next we've got a G minor 7, G, B flat, D, and F, using my fourth finger for the bass note there. And then finally, for this line, we've got a C7. So it's coming up to bass C with my first finger, G, B flat, C, and E. Now just practice that a bit and notice if you use the same fingers as me, these chords all flow really smoothly, going from that F to the D minor. We only have to change that middle note, and we're changing from the second to third finger. Now for the G minor 7, we can keep these top two notes the same. And then moving to that C, we just kind of bring the top two notes down and we keep those two notes. Now we're in 4/4 time, so each of these measures get 4 counts. We've got a lot of measures where there's 2 chords per measure, so each of those chords get 2 counts. Right off the bat, I'll do quarter notes in the right hand, just playing on every count. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's this little detail with the bass where at the end of every other measure, it hits on both 3 and 4. So on that C7, you can do 3, 4. With the singing, that's who knows how long I've loved you. Okay, let's keep going. The next line starts the same way. You know I love you still. So A minor. Notice I'm doing 1, 2, and 4 for the fingers there. I think that flows really smoothly from the D minor and to where we're going next. So that's A, C, and E. Now we've got 2 counts of this F7 over A. So we've got A, C, E flat, and F up here. And we've got the A in the left hand. And that's, again, every other measure we can hit on both 3 and 4. Although the first time the F7 over A happens in each of these verses, instead of just hitting the A twice, you can come up to the C before landing on the B flat. You know I love you still. Will I wait? Okay, so now we're in the next line. B flat, D, and F for this B flat major chord. Second finger on B flat down here. Wait a lonely. So this is a cool sounding chord. We've got a C over G. So I came down to the G bass note, and then we've got G, C, and E here. I like doing 1, 2, and 4 for that because that steps in really nicely to this D minor over A. So that's A, D, and F with an A in the left hand. Then once again, we have that F7 over A. So that's, again, a really smooth transition. This time it just stays on A in the left hand for both of those hits on beat 3 and 4. Then back up to B flat, C over G. And then when you hit this F at the end, we're starting another pass through the same chord progression that the song started with, just on the F, 2, D minor, 2, G minor 7, C7, before we would land in the second verse. Before we continue, let me just play through that whole first verse. I just want to note that the song starts with the voice on who knows. So if you don't have any reference for the pitch, it can be a little tricky. So that first note is an E. You might want to just cue yourself. Who, 1, 2, 3. Who knows how long I've loved you? You know I love you still. Will I wait alone? Okay, so we're in the second verse. Here's the chords for that. Notice it is basically the same thing as the first verse, different lyrics, of course, only just at the very end, instead of going back to that progression with a D minor, G minor 7, C7, we just hit that F, and it only lasts one measure, adding an F7. So we can just voice F7 the same way we did before. I will always feel the same. That would be leading into love you forever, the chorus. Now there's one extra detail we can add here on that F7. There's this nice little bass line that happens. Well, it's not really the bass, it's Paul's voice going do, 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 do. Really cool thing about this recording. But to do it, we need to think in eighth notes, so dividing the beat in half, thinking 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and we're hitting the left-hand notes on 3 and 4 and F, G, A, F. All right, so then we are in what I would call the chorus. It's funny because it only happens once, but it feels like a chorus. We're going to start on this B flat. So same way we just did it in the verses for 2 counts. Then A minor 7. So we're going to voice this in the right hand the same way we did the C for the C over G, but with an A bass note gives it that A minor 7 sound. Then up to the D minor. Same way we did it before, except for this time the bass note is a D. Now, you could just stay on the D minor, that whole measure, but the lead guitar part plays this little melody, this da, 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 and it's really easy to just imply that by going to a D sus2, just dropping that top note down to an E on the third beat. Sounds really good, and it's sort of just an easy low-hanging fruit here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we've got G minor 7, just like we did it before, to the C7, just like we did it before, to F, to F7, and just like we did leading into this chorus, you could do the, when you get to the F7, then we are back, it kind of repeats around again. You whenever we're together, love you when we're, so now we've got this G7, it's just like the G minor 7 we've been doing, except for it's a major triad, with a B natural, love you when we're apart, C7, just like we've been doing. Now this is one other spot where you could add some extra bass line here, just stepping down in the key, just on the quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, of course, landing on F, which would be the start of the next verse. Now, before we move on, I want to give you one other option for a little bass detail that happens in the D minor measure. This is quite a bit trickier, so again, consider it pretty optional. It's going to look like this. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and just hitting that D, another D, and then stepping down in the key to the A before, of course, leading to the G at the beginning of the next line. Getting the hands together on this can be a little tricky. So just notice where they connect, and of course, I didn't even do the sus2 there, which does make it harder. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and so just, if you are gonna do this, take your time getting a hang of that. Okay, let me play that whole chorus with all those details. 1, 2, 3, 4. Love you forever and forever. Love you with all my heart. Love you whenever we're together. Love you when we're apart. And when it lasts. Okay, so now we are in the final verse. It looks like this, starts like the other verses, but then it kind of goes off the rails in a really, really cool direction. So we've got, and when at last I find you, your song will fill the air. Sing it loud so I can hear you. Make it easy to be near you. Ah, it's so cool. Okay, so we start the line with the B flat the way we did it before, coming up to the D minor over A, but then one count later, so on the second beat of that measure, we're gonna come all the way up to this E for this B flat diminished over E, and I'm gonna just do two notes in the right hand for this chord, just B flat and D flat. This is like an inverted B flat diminished chord. So with the E at the bottom, and then we're gonna just move the bottom note up a half step to F and the top two notes down a half step like that, and we end up just between the hands making root position F major triad. The little dash after the F just represents another count of the F where you're just holding the F. So beat 1 we're on D minor over A, beat 2 we're on B flat diminished over E, and then beat 3 and 4 on the F. 1, 2, 3, 4. Going into the next line, same thing again. Make it easy to be near you. 2, 3, 4. The things you do endear you to me. Oh. So the only difference there is I actually am hitting the F again on beat 4, just a little bit more rhythm. Oh, you know. Actually, for this G minor 7, so just moving along to this last line here, you can voice it exactly like we've been doing. To sound a little bit more like the recording, I'm actually gonna invert it up one and do that so we get the G as the top note. So that's optional. So, oh, you know. And then we've got this C6. So that's C, E, G, and A. You could also just leave out the G here if you want. No, I will. Okay, this part is so cool. Will. Such a satisfying chord change. So this is a D flat add 2. I'm gonna come way down here to this D flat bass note, and I've got an A flat, a D flat, an E flat, and an F. And this lasts for 2 measures. I will, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. I will. And then 2 measures on F, just like we've been doing it. I'm gonna move my 5th finger back up to there. And then on the last 2 counts of the second measure of F here, you can do the same bass line we've been doing, kind of leading into sections that start with B flat. Although this time it's not on an F7. I'm just gonna stay on the F. Which brings us to the outro. But real quick, let me just play through that whole verse. 1, 2, 3. And when at last I find you, your song will fill the air. Sing it loud so I can hear you. Make it easy to be near you. For the things you do endear you to me. Oh, I'm gonna do that. Oh, you know I will. 1, 2, 3. I will. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and okay, now we are in the outro. Here's the chords for that. So essentially you're just playing through the first 2 lines of the chorus, just the vocals are hummed. Again, you can add the it's a little too high for me. I'll probably go da da. So we're just ending on a regular old F major there, and then you can just let it ring out and the song is over. So that's the full arrangement. You now know what you need to know to do a full cover of the song, including some cool left-hand bass stuff. But we could also add some of that fast bluesy finger picking that's an overdub on the recording. So here's what that would sound like. And there are a few different instances of this throughout the song on different chords, but it's all with this same basic rhythm. So let's learn the rhythm. We need 16th notes, so we're dividing the beat in 4, thinking 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a, and then here highlighted are the counts that we're gonna play on. Let's just start with counting that out on just a single note. I'll just do D with my 3rd finger. 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. So you could take it slower than that if you need. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and. Take as long as you need with that and gradually start speeding it up. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and. And then we can work on getting that into an arpeggio. The first place it occurs, it's on this sort of D minor chord. So that's going to look like this. So we're coming down F, D, A. It does that twice. Actually, it doesn't go all the way to the A the second time. It goes to a C first and then down to the A. Of course, with the rhythm that's 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. The first place it happens in the song are the last two measures of the first verse, where we've got the F, the D, the G, minor 7, C. And on the F chord, it actually does the D minor shape, kind of interesting. So we would do. So the left hand bass note switches on beat 3 halfway through that again. And then it repeats the pattern again, this time with the G to the C. And the difference, though, is you're going to hit a B flat instead of the A. Actually, it doesn't go to the B flat there. It goes to the A again. And I've been withholding that there's this extra little bluesy note here. I would say this is optional. It does make it a bit trickier. And I would be on and at the very end of the measure. We'll repeat that one more time. And just to get more energy so it doesn't feel like it drops too much. Again, this is an overdub on the recording, so all the other rhythmic elements are still going on underneath it, so we don't want the energy to drop out too much. So I'm just going to do eighth notes in the left hand. So that's going to be on 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... But one thing that is tricky here is on that last chord on the, when you get to the C, there's the vocal pickup notes, for if I, and I've found singing and playing the rhythm at the same time really hard. So when I get to the C7, I'm just going to switch back to the chords. You don't have to, but I think it makes it a lot easier to do. If you want me to, I will. For if I ever saw you. Okay, cool. The next time something like this happens is at the end of verse 2, where we have the measure of the F and then the F7, where we did that walking bass line going into the chorus, love you forever. So here's what that measure of F is going to sound like. Love you forever. So we're going to do that same pattern, da, 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 except for I'm doing it on the notes of a F chord for the first little bit. And then for the second half of that measure, I'm going to do same rhythm we were doing before, but on E flat, D, C, A. And it does do the... I'm going to skip that because it makes it really hard to transition to that B in time. And I like just doing a little bit extra harmony with the F chord. So like instead of just doing, you can do, just kind of hit the outside notes of the rest of the chord there. Same thing there. You can hit that A while you do that. Love you forever. Okay, and then the final thing would be if you want to add that bass line we learned before in with the right hand. little tricky. Here's how those counts would work. It would be together. This would be, of course, on just beats 3 and 4 of that measure. 3 E and a 4 E and. So you do together, left, right, together. You can work on that really slow. Okay, then we are in the chorus. Love you forever and forever. Love you with all my heart. So you can just do the exact same thing we just learned there. And then we've got love you whenever we're together. Love you when we're apart. And when... So this is a little bit of a different thing, but while we're doing this overdubbed lead acoustic guitar, I love that leading back into the last verse. So we're just gonna kind of come up here and do sixths. So E and C, and then just stepping down just one note at a time, but in the key. So B's are flat. So we got E and C, D and B flat, C and A, B flat and G. Before, if you kept coming down, it would be like that, but that would just be landing in the F to start the next verse. Love you when we're apart. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can break it up, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 when at last. If you're not doing this, this is where we had the left hand stepping down, but I just find it to be a little too much, and I think it sounds nice to just hold that C. And when at last, okay. So then we are in the last verse. So the next thing that happens with the fast finger picking pattern would be on the D flat add 2. So that you're just going to use the notes from the chord as we learned it before, and you can apply that same rhythm we were doing. That, of course, is on Oh, You Know I Will. I will. Before the outro. So on that F, same rhythm we've been doing and everything, but the notes here are actually a little bit different. So we're gonna just do D and C for the main notes there, and you can add that. And then this one's a little different too. So before we did, so we're just starting up on the F for that rhythm. So C is the last note you play before we drop into the outro. And again, you can do that stepping thing at the same time if you're up for it. And then we are in the outro, and that's all the places that fast finger picking stuff happens. So you can do all of it or some of it or none of it. All right, thank you for sticking with me. I'm now gonna do a full coverage so you can see how everything we've talked about fits together in the full piece. And I'm gonna be adding all the fancy details I talked about, but I wanna just stress one more time that anything that is too tricky with those additional things is totally optional. You can keep it as simple as you need. And I do playthroughs of each section without the fancy stuff, just with the chords at the end of each of those sections where I taught the chord progressions. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like. Also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and click the bell so you know when I put out more videos like this one. Okay, here's my version of I Will. Who knows how long I've loved